Hello, folks, and this is a soft spoken episode because I'm trying not to wake the people that live here while recording. So, this episode is in the playlist of familiar ghost types, and we're taking a brief look at apparitions. Now, if you're someone who has had a long-term interest in the paranormal, the unexplained, or folklore, you may already have an idea of what an apparition is. But for those that aren't familiar, an apparition is the sudden appearance of a spirit form that may be known or unknown to the viewer. Now, there are three types of apparition to go over. The first is what is known as divine apparitions. So they occur when somebody has performed a kind of charm or ritual to bring an apparition before themselves. And then you have apparitions which are kind of summoned by ignoring a superstitious practice when it comes to like the dead and the dying. And lastly, you have something which is known as a crisis apparition, which is the sudden appearance of a spirit form that may be known or unknown to the viewer. Now, these types of apparitions tend to be in the form of friends or family members, and they come at a time of crisis, so when there is going to be disaster or deaths in the family. But strangely enough, many people have reported that the apparition has actually taken the form of a doppelganger of themselves. In Scotland, this apparition appears to many clans as a warning of death. There is the Bodach Glass, or Dark Grey Man, the Bodach Owl Dun, or the Ghost of the Hill. These Bodachs often appear in the form of a bloodied hand, or in the form of a man with a bloodied hand. But crisis apparitions appear not only in the form of people, but they can also appear in the form of animals, including dogs, cats, cows, and even geese. The Arundel family of Wardour in Wiltshire have two owls which would perch upon the roof of their mansion, and the Clifton family of Nottinghamshire, whose mansion sits on the bank of the River Trent, they have a trout which will swim upstream. But crisis apparitions can also come in the form of disembodied sounds, including the howling and crying of animals, the sounds of bells or clocks, and even the sounds of human lamentation. Now, the apparitions of the dead and the dying can be deliberately or accidentally summoned. In the case of deliberately, on the eve of St. Mark's feast day, the people of northern and western England hold night vigils at the church porch. Here, at midnight, it is said that the apparitions of those to die next year will appear, walking into the churchyard in their winding shrouds, and often led by a ghostly priest. And mirrors should always be covered in the room of those who are dying or who have died. If this is not done, the spirit may fly into the mirror to appear behind you as you glance into it. And worse, you may even see the devil. And speaking ill of the dead is something we all declare that we shouldn't do before talking about someone we may not think very much of who has passed on from this earthly realm. This very much puts you in the situation of provoking the spirit to appear before you so that you can say it to their face. Of course, if you were to say, God rest their soul, before or after saying your zesty gossip, you can block them from commenting. Now, our ancestral unmarried maidens seemed to have quite the preoccupation with using many forms of divination to find out who they would marry. Divined apparitions are forms that are conjured using charms, talismans, and incantations. Lonely maidens and soulmateless spinsters brave the paranormal in order to get a glimpse of their future love. At Halloween and Midsummer's Eve, unmarried maidens would set up a ritual in order to conjure the appearance of their soon-to-be betrothed. So they would wet their nightgowns and dry them before the fire, and they would also place a meal at the table. And at the stroke of midnight, the door to the home would open, and in would stride the apparition of the person's soon-to-be husband, and they would sit at the table, eat the meal, and then vanish. On Midsummer's Eve, those desiring to see their beloved should go into the garden and throw hemp seed over their left shoulder, chanting, "Hemp seed I sow, hemp seed I sow, and he that must be my true love, come after me and mow." And on the 9th hurl of these seeds over your shoulder, you would look behind you and you would see the visage of your Valentine. Now, mirrors are used often in a lot of charms and spells regarding apparitions and spirits and so forth. And one of the easiest ways to divine for your dearly beloved is to use a mirror. You wait until the first full moon of the year, and then you set your mirror so that it reflects the moonlight, and then upon looking in the mirror, you will see him looking over your shoulder. But quite often, this image will be of this person in their winding shroud, so I don't know why you would want to see them at their worst rather than their best, but here you go. Now, other forms of this ritual will have you doing things like eating an apple and looking into the mirror, or holding an apple in one hand and a candle in the other, or a candle and a brush and be combing your hair. But whichever way that you choose to do it, it will be effective if you believe that it's going to happen. Now we'll leave it for now because I can hear the rustlings of people getting up now, so I have to go. But there is plenty more content on apparitions for me to produce, so I will go through some paranormal stories of apparitions very, very soon. And in the meantime, if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you for sticking around, watching, etc. And I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.